At a lonely highway rest stop, a late-night encounter between Judge Marcus Johnson and accomplished black federal judge Zone, two white patrol officers, spirals into a wrongful arrest, fueled by racial profiling and abuse of power. Humiliated and thrown into a holding cell, Marcus listens to the pain of other detainees, silently carrying his own storm. By morning, the officers discover the man they mocked is no ordinary detainee, but the judge presiding over their disciplinary hearing. In the courtroom, arrogance crumbles as witnesses expose systemic racism, lies unravel, and the officers' union desperately tries to shield them. Marcus remains silent until the perfect moment, revealing that he himself was their victim. The gallery erupts as he delivers poetic justice, suspending their power and igniting national outrage, leaving the world to confront the echoes of racism, silence, and accountability. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed over the empty highway rest stop. Midnight air carried the smell of diesel and stale coffee. Marcus Johnson adjusted his tie, stepped out of his black sedan, and stretched his stiff back. Two patrol cars idled at the far end of the lot. Their headlights flared as he moved toward the vending machines. "Hey," a voice barked. Marcus turned slowly. Two white officers approached, boots crunching gravel. "Problem, officer?" Marcus asked, voice calm. "Yeah. Problem is, you hanging around here." Officer Miller's eyes narrowed. "What are you doing at a rest stop this late?" "Resting," Marcus replied evenly. "Exactly what it's for." Officer Davis smirked. "Don't get smart, show ID." Marcus hesitated, then reached for his wallet. "Is there a reason?" "Reason is, we asked." Miller snatched the license, eyes scanning. "Marcus Johnson, where you headed?" "Back home." "Long drive from a conference." Davis circled him slowly. "Conference? You selling something? Drugs, maybe?" Marcus inhaled. "Steady. No, I'm a federal." "Hands on the car," Miller snapped. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Excuse me, you heard me. Hands on the car." He placed his palms on the cool metal of his sedan. "Empty your pockets." "There's no cause." Miller shoved him hard. "Don't tell me law. You people think you know better." Marcus froze, every muscle locked. He knew this game, resist, and risk more than humiliation. Davis leaned close, whispering, "Not so sharp now, huh?" Marcus said nothing. Handcuffs clicked, the steel bit into his wrists. "Disorderly conduct," Miller muttered. "That's the charge, for standing at a rest stop." Marcus's voice was low, but steady. "Don't mouth off," Davis sneered. "You'll cool down in a cell." The officers shoved him into the back of the cruiser. Gravel scattered under their boots. From the back seat, Marcus stared out the window at the vending machine glow fading behind him. His silence wasn't defeat, it was fuel. The hum of the engine swallowed the night. The county jail smelled of bleach and sweat. A single flickering bulb cast shadows over chipped concrete walls. Marcus sat on a hard metal bench, his wrists still sore from the cuffs. Across from him, a young man with a swollen eye whispered, "What did they get you for?" Marcus's voice was steady. "Existing at a rest stop." A nervous chuckle rippled from another detainee, an older man with gray stubble. "Ain't that the truth?" The boy leaned closer. "They planted a bag on me last month, said it was mine. Got out 'cause my cousin had a camera. This time, they didn't bother, just slammed me." Marcus listened, eyes fixed on the floor. His silence wasn't indifference, it was control. From the corridor came laughter. Miller's voice echoed. "Our new guest thinks he's somebody." Davis replied, "He'll learn." They all learned. The detainees went quiet. Every man in the cell had heard words like those before. The older man muttered, "Cops out here don't see us as people, just quotas." A hush fell when the officers walked past the bars. Miller banged his baton against the steel. "Hope y'all get comfortable." Davis grinned at Marcus. "Mr. Johnson, was it you're not special? Just another name in the system." Marcus finally spoke, his tone calm but sharp. "Names matter. You should remember mine." For a beat, the corridor fell silent. Miller sneered. Big talk for a man in cuffs. They moved on, laughter trailing like smoke. The young man shook his head. "You shouldn't provoke them." "I didn't," Marcus said softly. "Truth provokes them." Hours dragged. The cell grew colder, the silence heavier. One by one, the detainees dozed off. Only Marcus remained upright, eyes burning into the darkness. From down the hall, another officer murmured, "Why is he in here again?" Miller's voice, sharp, disorderly. "Don't ask questions." A pause. Then Davis, he looked at me. Wrong, that's all. Marcus exhaled slowly, closing his eyes. Their words weren't new, but tonight they felt different. The injustice was no longer abstract, it was personal, etched into his skin. And deep inside, beneath the quiet, a storm gathered. Morning crept into the holding cell with a pale, dusty light. The detainees stirred awake, coughing, stretching. Marcus sat in the same position as hours before, his back straight, eyes alert. The heavy door screeched open. A sergeant with thinning hair stepped inside, clipboard in hand. He scanned the faces, then stopped at Marcus U. Johnson. Marcus rose slowly. Yes, follow me. The young man with the swollen eye whispered, "Good luck, brother." Marcus gave him a faint nod and stepped into the hallway. The sergeant didn't look at him, just muttered, "Your file. It doesn't make sense." They stopped at the front desk. A clerk tapped furiously at a computer, frowning. "Sir, we've got a problem." "What now?" The sergeant snapped. "This ID." The clerk held up Marcus's license. "It matches a sitting federal judge, Eastern District." Silence. The sergeant's pen slipped from his hand. "You're saying, yes," the clerk cut in. "Judge Marcus D. Johnson, appointed 5 years ago." And he clicked rapidly. "He's presiding over a disciplinary hearing tomorrow. For 2 officers." The sergeant's face drained of color. A voice behind them. "What's the issue?" It was Miller, swaggering in with Davis. Both froze when they saw Marcus standing, free of cuffs. "Hell is this?" Miller barked. The sergeant turned on him. "You 2 arrested him." Miller's jaw tightened. He was suspicious. Loitering. Disorderly conduct. "Do you idiots know who this is?" The sergeant hissed. Davis stammered. He never said." Marcus finally spoke, voice low but cutting. "I tried." The room went still. The sergeant rubbed his temples. "Get him his belongings, now." Miller tried to recover, his tone forced casual. "Judge, look, maybe we got off on the wrong foot." Marcus's stare cut through him. "You'll address me properly, or not at all." Davis swallowed hard. "We can fix this. Reports can be clarified." "Clarified," Marcus repeated. His calm voice carried more weight than shouting. "Is that your word for lying?" The sergeant barked. "Shut it, Davis. Just get out." The officer shuffled back, whispering furiously. Marcus accepted his wallet, keys, and watch. He slid the watch onto his wrist with deliberate precision. The sergeant tried weakly. "Your Honor, if there is," Marcus interrupted. "But I don't need to explain it here." He walked out of the station, the doors banging shut behind him. The morning air was sharp, clean, nothing like the stench of the holding cell. For the first time since last night, Marcus allowed himself a breath. His silence wasn't weakness, it was a promise. The courtroom smelled faintly of polished wood and old paper, the kind of place where power whispered instead of shouted. Officers Miller and Davis strolled in, uniforms stiff, ties tight. Their arrogance returned overnight, bruised but unbroken. Miller smirked at Davis. "Told you. Worst case, slap on the wrist. Judge'll side with us." Davis chuckled nervously. "Yeah, cops always get covered. Unions got our backs." They found their seats, trading nods with colleagues in the gallery. The union representative, a thick man with a square jaw, leaned over. "Stay calm. Stick to the script. We control this room, not them." The bailiff stepped forward. "All rise." The heavy wooden door creaked open. Silence fell. Marcus Johnson entered, black robe flowing, gavel in hand. Miller's grin collapsed. Davis's jaw dropped. Whispers rippled like electricity through the gallery. Isn't that, he's the judge?" Marcus took his seat on the bench. His face was carved from stone, unreadable, his eyes hard with the weight of a sleepless night. He set the gavel down with care, then scanned the courtroom. His gaze passed deliberately over Miller, then Davis. Both officers froze in their chairs, their rehearsed confidence unraveling. Miller leaned toward Davis, whispering urgently, "It's him. Oh God, it's him." Davis whispered back, "Keep it together. Don't lose it." Maybe he won't." The gavel cracked. "This disciplinary hearing will come to order," Marcus said, voice deep, steady. The officers flinched as though the sound struck flesh. The union rep tried to recover, standing with forced authority. "Your Honor, my client's." Marcus raised a hand. The man stopped mid-sentence. "You will have your turn," Marcus said coldly. A tense silence thickened. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Miller shifted in his chair, muttering under his breath, "This isn't fair." Marcus's eyes snapped to him. Did you say something, Officer Miller? Miller straightened quickly. No, Your Honor. Good, Marcus replied. Because fairness is precisely why we are here. The words cut sharper than a shout. Marcus tapped the gavel once more. Let us begin. The courtroom leaned forward as one, the weight of poetic justice filling the air. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Rows of wooden benches creaked as reporters, community members, and nervous officers filled the gallery. On the bench, Judge Marcus Johnson adjusted his glasses, expression unreadable. Across from him sat officers, Miller and Davis, their uniforms crisp but their faces pale. Between them, the union representative whispered strategy, sweat darkening his collar. Marcus's gavel cracked. This hearing is now in session. The murmurs died instantly. First witness, Marcus said. A bailiff led in the young man from the holding cell, swollen eye, shoulders hunched. He avoided looking at the officers as he took the stand. Marcus leaned forward. State your name. Deshaun Carter. Mr. Carter, Marcus said, his tone formal but gentle. Tell us what you witnessed on the night in question. Deshaun licked his lips. I saw them bring him in, rough, like he'd fought back or something, but he didn't. He was calm. They cuffed him anyway, called him names. What names? Deshaun hesitated. His eyes flicked toward the officers. Marcus's voice softened. You are under oath. Speak truth without fear. Deshaun swallowed. They said he thought he was better than them. Called him boy. Said people like him needed reminders. Gasps rippled through the gallery. The union rep shot up. Objection. Hearsay and exaggeration. Marcus's gavel slammed. Overruled. The testimony stands. Miller leaned toward Davis, whispering harshly. He's lying. Davis muttered back. Stick to the story. Don't break. Marcus's gaze swept the room. Next witness, the older man with gray stubble, shuffled in. He raised his hand, voice trembling but firm. I seen the same judges, sir. They laughed at cuffin' him. Said even educated ones don't get far. That's what I heard. Reporters scribbled furiously. Cameras clicked. The union rep tried again. This is character assassination. My clients have spotless service records. Marcus cut him off. We will get to their records. Sit down. Miller's jaw worked. He finally spoke, voice loud and defensive. This is ridiculous. He was disorderly. Raised his voice. We followed procedure. Marcus's eyes flicked to him. And did that procedure include mocking him in the holding cell? Miller's face flushed. He provoked us. How? Marcus asked sharply. He looked at me wrong. A stunned silence fell from the gallery. Someone whispered, looked at him wrong. Marcus leaned back in his chair, letting the words hang. Then, evenly noted, Davis jumped in. Desperate, he didn't comply. He questioned us. That's resistance. Marcus's voice was icy calm. Asking questions is not resistance. It is a right. The gallery erupted with murmurs. The union rep slammed a folder on the table. This is a circus. My clients risk their lives daily. They made a split-second judgment. Marcus's eyes sharpened. No, they made a choice. And today, this court examines that choice. The rep faltered. Miller shifted, sweat beading his forehead. Marcus's narration cut through the silence like a blade. Power is fragile when truth cracks its mask. And today, the mask is slipping. The air in the courtroom felt heavier now. Testimonies had left ripples of anger, disbelief, and shame. Miller and Davis sat stiffly, their confidence leaking away in beads of sweat. The union representative rose again, voice booming, trying to reclaim the ground. Your Honor, my clients have served this community for years. Split-second decisions in high-pressure situations are not crimes. They were protecting the public. That is their duty. Marcus's expression didn't shift. And mocking a man in custody. Is that also their duty? The rep faltered. Your Honor, context matters. Context. Marcus's voice sharpened. We have sworn testimony of racial slurs, intimidation, and unlawful arrest. Provide me the context that justifies that. The gallery murmured. Reporters scribbled faster. The rep's jaw clenched. They believed he posed a threat. Unarmed, cooperative, alone at a rest stop. Marcus leaned forward. That was the threat. Miller broke in. Desperate. We didn't know who he was. The silence that followed was brutal. Marcus's gaze locked on him. So, if you had known, your treatment would have been different. Miller's mouth opened, then closed. Davis looked down at the table, hands trembling. The rep jumped in, his tone sharp. This is a witch hunt. Every word twisted. Every officer second-guessed. If we strip away their discretion, we endanger them. Marcus allowed a pause, then asked, calm as ice, tell me who endangered whom that night. The rep had no answer. The older man from the cell shifted in his seat, murmuring to a reporter. Finally, someone's saying it. Marcus continued, voice steady but edged with steel. The badge is not a shield for abuse. It is not armor for arrogance. It is a responsibility, and responsibility means accountability. Davis whispered to Miller, we're finished. Miller hissed back, shut up. Marcus turned to the defense table. Officer Davis, Officer Miller, would you like to add to your representatives' defense, or remain silent? Both shook their heads, pale and trembling. Marcus let the silence linger, a weight pressing down on everyone in the room. Then he spoke again, voice lower but carrying across every bench. Silence speaks, and today, it speaks louder than excuses. The crack in their shield was no longer hidden, it was wide, and everyone could see it. The courtroom was still. Only the faint scratch of pens and the whir of cameras filled the air. Miller and Davis sat slumped, their earlier swagger shattered. The union rep tugged at his tie, sweat soaking his collar. Marcus leaned back in his chair, his robe folding like shadow. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, slowly, he placed both hands on the bench. Enough, he said. The single word cracked like thunder. The gallery froze. Marcus's eyes swept the room. We have heard testimony. We have heard denials. But we have not yet heard truth. Miller's head jerked up. We told the truth, no. Marcus cut him off. Voice razor sharp. You told a story. One rehearsed. One meant to protect you. But truth is not found in stories crafted to survive hearings. Truth is lived. The silence deepened. Marcus leaned forward. His voice dropped lower, each syllable deliberate. On the night in question, I was at that rest stop. Gasps exploded through the gallery. Dawes went pale. Miller muttered, no, this can't. Marcus's tone remained steady. I was not a witness. I was not a passerby. I was your detainee. Reporters jolted to their feet, pens flying. Cameras clicked in rapid bursts. The union reps surged forward. Objection, Your Honor. This is improper. You cannot testify in your own. Sit down, Marcus thundered, his gavel slamming. This is not a trial. This is accountability. The rep froze, then sank back into his chair. Marcus's eyes fixed on the officers. You approached me with suspicion for the crime of existing. You demanded my identification without cause. When I asked why, you answered with hostility. When I complied, you mocked. You shoved me. You cuffed me. You called me boy. Whispers swept the gallery like wildfire. Miller's voice cracked. We didn't know that I was a judge. Marcus's voice rose, echoing off the walls. Does that matter? Would you have shown respect? To a robe, but not a man. To a title, but not a human being. Davis's lip trembled. We were following procedure. Marcus leaned forward, voice sharp as a blade. Which procedure? The one where you strip dignity from citizens? The one where you decide skin color equals threat? Show me the page in your handbook that tells you to humiliate first and justify later. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. A woman in the gallery wiped tears from her eyes. Marcus's tone softened, but every word carried weight. Do you know what it means to sit in a cell, surrounded by men broken by a system that treats them as prey? To hear laughter in the hallway as your freedom is mocked. To feel the cold bite of steel on your wrists, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. The silence that followed was unbearable. Miller's eyes darted, searching for escape. Judge, please, we didn't mean you. Meant every word, Marcus said flatly. And every shove, every insult, every smirk told me what I already knew, that to you, I was not Marcus Johnson, citizen. I was not Marcus Johnson, man. I was only Marcus Johnson, black. And that was enough to make me your target. The union rep stood, voice desperate. Your Honor, surely you can see this is personal. Yes, Marcus said, his voice heavy. It is personal. Because racism is always personal to those it wounds. The gavel slammed again. My ruling, Marcus declared, voice steady, final. Officers Miller and Davis are hereby suspended without pay, pending criminal investigation. Their actions will be referred to the state's attorney. Their records will be reviewed in full. Miller shot to his feet. You can't do this. Marcus's eyes burned into him. I already have. Davis buried his face in his hands. The gallery erupted cheers, gasps, shouts. Some wept openly, others raised fists. The sound shook the walls. Marcus didn't move. He simply sat, still as stone, letting the storm of justice rage around him, because poetic justice was not loud vengeance. It was the silence of abusers realizing their power was gone, and that silence was deafening. By the afternoon, the courthouse steps overflowed. Protesters lifted cardboard signs high into the air. Justice now. No more silence. We believe Marcus. Chants rolled like thunder, voices merging into one unshakable chorus. Inside, reporters swarmed the hallway, their cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward. Judge Johnson, do you have a statement? Your Honor, how does it feel to preside over your own abusers? Do you believe this case will spark reform? Marcus walked through the sea of questions, robes brushing against marble, expression calm. He did not pause. His silence was his statement. Across town, the news exploded. Clips of Marcus's revelation played on repeats, his voice steady, his words sharp as glass. Would you have shown respect to a robe, but not a man? The video went viral before sunset. Millions watched. Millions shared. In the precinct, Miller and Davis sat hunched in a back office, stripped of their badges. The weight of public scorn pressed heavier than any gavel. Their phones buzzed endlessly, messages unanswered, threats unread. The union rep had already distanced himself. The system they trusted to protect them had begun to fracture. Though, forget, Miller muttered, voice hollow. Davis stared at the floor. No, not this time. Back in chambers, Marcus removed his robe and draped it carefully across the chair. Alone at last, he loosened his tie, staring at the silent walls. The echoes of chants outside drifted faintly through the glass. He thought of Deshaun Carter's swollen eye, the older man's trembling testimony, the fear, the silence, the shame. He had seen it all before, across generations. His father, his grandfather, and now, him. For a moment, Marcus closed his eyes. The weight of history pressed against his chest. Then he stood, walking to the window. Beyond the courthouse, the city pulsed angry, alive, unyielding. The rest stop highway stretched in his memory, the cold night air, the vending machines glowing in the dark, the laughter of men who believed they were untouchable, and then, the gavel. Justice wasn't perfect. It wasn't permanent, but today, it had been heard. Marcus whispered to the empty room, voice steady. This fight doesn't end here. Outside, the chants rose louder, as if answering him. The echoes carried, reaching beyond the courthouse, beyond the city, beyond the night, reminding the nation that silence can become thunder when one man dares to speak truth, and that thunder does not fade.